Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Prem se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki, Ganga Mai ki, Yamuna Mai ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Srimati Tulsi Maharani ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtapraishvabhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike Krishna Swadam Upagate Dharmajnana Dibisaha Kalau Nashta Trisham Esha Puranarko Dhunoditaha. So we're reading today from Canto 3, Chapter 14, Pregnancy of Diti in the Evening. And this is text 48. Okay. Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma Mahanubhavo Mahata Mahishtaha Mahanubhavo Mahata Mahishtaha Pravritya Bhaktya Yanubhavitashaya Pravritya Bhakta Yanubhavitashaya Nirveshya Vaikunthamimam Vihasyati Niveshya Vaikunthamimam Vihasyati Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma Mahanubhavo Mahata Mahishtaha Pravritya Bhaktya Yanubhavitashaya Niveshya Vaikunthamimam Vihasyati Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma Mahanubhavo Mahata Mahishtaha Pravritya Bhaktya Yanubhavitashaya Niveshya Vaikunthamimam Vihasyati. Prabhuji's.
Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma Mahanubhavo Mahata Mahishtaha Pravritya Bhaktya Yanubhavitashaya Niveshya Vaikunthamimam Vihasyati
Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma Mahanubhavo Mahata Mahishtaha
Savai Mahabhagavato
Ladies? Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma Mahanubhavo Mahata Mahishta Pravritya Bhaktya Yanubhavita Shaye Niveshya Vaikuntam Imam Vyasyati Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma Mahanubhavo Mahata Mahishta Pravritta Bhaktya Yanubhavita Shaye Niveshya Vaikuntam Imam Vihasyati. Sa, he, vai, certainly, Mahabhagavata, the topmost devotee, Maha-Atma, expanded intelligence, Maha-Anubhava, expanded influence, Mahatam, of the great souls, Mahishta, the greatest, Pravritta, well matured, Bhaktya, by devotional service, he, certainly, Anubhavita, being situated in the Anubhav stage of ecstasy, Ashaya, in the mind, Niveshya, entering, Vaikuntam, in the spiritual sky, Imam, this material world, Vihasyati, will quit. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. That topmost devotee of the Lord will have expanded intelligence and expanded influence and will be the greatest of the great souls. Due to matured devotional service, he will certainly be situated in transcendental ecstasy and will enter the spiritual sky after quitting this material world. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Ki. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are 3 stages of transcendental development in devotional service, which are technically called Sthayi Bhav, Anubhav, and Mahabhav. Continually perfect love of Godhead is called Sthayi Bhav, and when it is performed in a particular type of transcendental relationship, it is called Anubhav. But the stage of Mahabhav is visible among the personal pleasure potential energies of the Lord. It is understood that the grandson of Diti, namely Prahlad Maharaj, would constantly meditate on the Lord and reiterate his activities. Because he would constantly remain in meditation, he would easily transfer himself to the spiritual world after quitting his material body. Such meditation is still more conveniently performed by chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord. This is especially recommended in this age of Kali. Om Jnanatimirannasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnuvaya Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna. This is a very quite a short purport and it's part of a very interesting series in this Bhagavatam, very important series of the birth of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And what's interesting in this purport is Prabhupada teases us a little here. He sort of mentions these concepts, Sthayi Bhav, Anubhav, and Mahabhav, which are part of a little subset of an entire world of analysis of emotion, of transcendental emotion and bhav. And then he leaves it. So I thought maybe we can just say a few items about these. We're obviously speaking about Prahlad Maharaj, who is the exalted son of Hiranyakashipu. And here in this section, Kashyapa is informing Diti that because of her misbehavior, she's going to have some problems. And that's been discussed at length so far. Yet there is a saving grace in that Prahlad Maharaj, as a result of also simultaneously her good behavior, this great exalted devotee will be there. And he's not any old devotee. He is the topmost devotee. So this is a very, very special person. And these terms, Sthayi Bhav, Anubhav, and Mahabhav, are sort of raised here because Prabhupada is identifying the actual quality and advancement of Prahlad Maharaj. Now, when one's devotional service starts to fructify, starts to move forward, of course it starts initially with a little Shraddha, right? You know, the process of Shraddha to Prema. With a little faith, with a little chanting of the holy name, with a little connection with devotees, one moves forward in their spiritual life. Well, things then develop, and the devotee moves forward. And so this stage of Sthayi Bhav is a stage of permanent situation in devotional service. We are often very flickering in our practice, in our performance of service, even our execution of rituals or execution of simple practices. We are very flickering. We have enthusiasm one day, we don't have enthusiasm another day. And within that there are the whole concepts of, should I even be here? Should I even be in devotional service? Are there better things I could be doing? Why bother spending Wednesday morning here at Bhaktivedanta Manor? I could be out there in the rain, going to work or doing so many other things. Well, these are all questions that kind of evaporate at an advanced stage of our progress, an advanced level of attainment. And different things happen. We know the basic sequence: Shraddha, Adho Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, the Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti Syat, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema, etc. Right? That's the system by which our devotion deepens and increases. So similarly, as these are the stages, there are also parallel developments that take place. Specifically, these are also parallel developments that take place that allow us to develop our transcendental emotion for the Lord. Now, this development of transcendental emotion is not available or even desired by most people on spiritual paths, especially those who follow an atheistic path, which sometimes they may consider themselves to be spiritualists, even while following an atheistic line. The Buddhists are largely atheistic, right? And the Mayavadis are pretty much atheistic in everything except name, because of their conduct desiring to be with the Lord, or even considering themselves to be with the Lord, effectively denies the existence of the Supreme Lord, of a person with whom you can have interaction and relish rasa. So in our specific line as Rupanugas, in the line of Srila Prabhupada, in the line of our whole system of acharyas, obviously with the Goswamis, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna, we learn that the topmost ecstasy one can attain and the topmost satisfaction or success in life comes when we actually start to develop a deep, deep loving bond and connection and service with the Supreme Lord, who is our Lord and Master from before we were born in this world. He's our Lord and Master. But far more important than being the Lord and Master, He's the sole object within this world, within this world, outside of this world, with whom we can actually exchange rasa and relationship and have interactions in a reciprocal manner. This reciprocal relation is not really known to people, as I mentioned, in the categories of atheism, but it is also not really understood or known to people who are simply on a platform of very formal religious practice. Bhaktivedanta Thakur analyzes many many things in his books, and his books are a treasure trove of knowledge. But in one place he analyzes that a person engages in devotional service or engages in religious practice on different levels, with different motivations. Some do it as a matter of, matter of force, right? Someone forces you, do this, pray this many times a day, do this, worship. And if you don't, you're going to hell. And if you do, heaven is yours. It's basically duty-based. And then he also analyzes that there is another platform upon which one can operate. That's the platform of friendship. Platform of friendship to the Lord, where we do things for the Lord's pleasure. Another platform is one where we simply act in a situation where only the pleasure and only the fulfillment of the desire of the Lord is important, as opposed to any gain that we could get. This previous category is all about our gain. We worship the Lord so we can get some done, maybe some wealth, some good life, some good health, something. But on the platform of serving the Lord for that purpose only, that is quite a high stage of practice. And as you can guess, not many people are really deeply on that path, even if they may claim to be. Some faiths may speak about loving God. But what does that mean? Well, here we have an entire analysis of what loving God means. And it's not a one-way process, because love is never a one-way process. You could say, I love this person, but it has no meaning unless there is a connection from the other side as well. It may be a very theoretical concept or a theoretical type of wishful thinking, that you may have undying love for someone. But there has to be some kind of reciprocation, some engagement. And actually it is that connection, which doesn't happen in necessarily a physical sense, but happens on a platform of bhav and actual behavior, dealings and interactions. That is what makes the relationship complete. Without the establishment of that relationship, we cannot really say we are actually loving anyone or anything. Where is the test of it? Where is the actual engagement in something one-sided when the whole nature of the concept is two-sided? It requires something far deeper. And so as we progress through spiritual life, different stages start to manifest where there is an increased reciprocation directly with the Lord himself. And this Sthayi Bhav is described as a state of permanent transcendence, permanent ecstasy. Sthayi has this connotation of permanence, as if it's the real situation, a situation that is not subject to fluctuations. So in our sequence that I mentioned earlier from Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya Anartha Nivriti, Nishta is a very good stage to attain. From a stage of Nishta, we are coming close to these areas. A place of steadiness where nothing or no one can actually pull us back. As I sometimes say, and you may be tired of hearing it, that there are unlimited reasons why we shouldn't do something at a particular moment in time, why we shouldn't be performing a particular spiritual activity at a certain moment in time. Unlimited reasons. You can think of them at every moment of the day. There's always something more practical, something more necessary, something more maybe intellectually stimulating, maybe physically stimulating, maybe entertaining that we should be doing, other than the specific service we are supposed to be doing. There's all those reasons. That also disappears on the platform of Nishta, because that simply doesn't become an important consideration. How would I like to entertain myself at this moment? Doesn't become a consideration at all. On the platform of Nishta, one is steady in the situation that I want to serve you, my dear Lord Krishna. I want to serve you with my heart and my soul, and I want to serve you for your full satisfaction. And in that process, there is so much that you have requested of me or expected of me through the instructions of the acharyas and the spiritual master. The whole preaching movement is based ultimately not as a task to keep us occupied, during our time here, but as something that brings the Lord pleasure. Brings the Lord pleasure. And therefore our acharyas all do it. They engage in extensive preaching. And for us who are struggling with our sadhana, struggling to keep things steady in terms of religious practice, preaching, especially in this age of Kali, brings about benefits which are tremendous. The shortfalls we all have, the failures, the weaknesses in actually even attaining a platform of sthayi bhav, can start to be attained by all the things that happen when one engages in the preaching mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this sthayi bhav is a kind of a base description, and here it refers to 3 bhavas, right? And anubhav is mentioned. Now there's a whole analysis of this, and it's a deep topic. But these different bhavas are analyzed by Bhaktivedanta Thakur. They're spoken about by Haridas Thakur, and they cover many aspects. We'll say something about anubhav. Anubhav, which Prabhupada here states, is something performed with a particular type of transcendental relationship. With these concepts, there is now this notion that we become situated in a certain place, maybe even a certain space, in terms of our relationship with Krishna. We may start to have glimpses of our service, our ultimate position in Lord Krishna's service. And sthayi bhav, anubhav, they are very much stages. I'm just looking for the stages, yes. There are four stages: vibhav, anubhav, sattvika bhav, and vyabhichari bhav. Sometimes sanchari bhav is used. And we won't go into a whole analysis of that. That requires many seminars in itself, and it's a very relishable topic also. But we can say a few things, as Prabhupada has brought up the topic here. Vibhav includes a whole realm of, in any relationship there are personalities, there are different stimulants, there are different activities that take place. And vibhav includes the different supporting characteristics, characters, persons, and the specific items, the udipan, the alambana, that allow you to be attracted, you could say, enticed at every moment to serve Krishna. When Krishna plays his flute, immediately the gopis' ears prick up, the cows stop moving, everyone becomes immediately called, immediately summoned. It's a stimulus. It causes them to be enlivened in their next stage of feelings towards the Lord. We have anubhav, which includes a deepening of that expression through different symptoms of different expressions. And some of them include rolling on the ground, etc., in ecstasy, hair standing on end, laughing. Different types of expression where, at a very heightened stage of one's advancement, one feels and actually starts to display many features. Now, in our line, our acharyas have always been very, very careful not to emphasize this particular aspect and not to promote it in general discussion as being a goal to work towards. Why? Because it is so frequently misunderstood and so frequently mistreated. And people start to imitate symptoms which should naturally come as a result of deep condensed practice. And they start imitating some symptoms, perhaps with the intention of proving themselves to be advanced devotees, making a big scene, a big show of their own ecstasies, rolling on the ground. There was this funny incident with Srila Prabhupada, wasn't there, in the kirtans in the early days? There was this person, or I think 2 ladies at one point started rolling around, or definitely there were some men rolling around during the kirtan. The devotees were quite new. They were wondering, what is this? Is this an expression of high advanced stage of ecstasy, or what is it? So they asked Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, Okay, well, you go and kick him and see what happens. If he still carries on, then it may be something genuine. But otherwise, if some other response comes, either they punch you back or they get up and just walk off, then you know it's probably not genuine. So Prabhupada, by default, didn't take any of this seriously. Because Prabhupada himself is situated on a very, very high level of spiritual advancement. And he can immediately detect the misbehavior or the false behavior of so many others who would simply like to fantasize over their relationship and activities with the Lord. You know, sometimes if you convince yourself very, very strongly that you're actually something, you may even start exhibiting those symptoms almost automatically. Almost automatically you may start doing it. If you convince yourself that I am in a transcendental realm, well, yes, you may even start doing certain things. Walking around in a certain way, rolling around, laughing, especially if you've heard that these are things or maybe seen others do them. And then you convince yourself that you're actually on that platform. And that's a big problem, because then you rightly fall into the term sahajiya. Someone who considers themselves to be on a platform where they're not, and has even actually convinced themselves over an extended period of time. Now sometimes Krishna deals with these characters. We have this individual Paundrak. Remember in Krishna Leela? Paundrak. He was such a character, he dressed himself up as Krishna. He convinced himself he was Krishna. And then sent a message to Krishna and said, Krishna, you should stop using the emblems of the Yadu dynasty. Stop using these emblems. These actually belong to me. I'm the real personality of Godhead. And, if you insist on carrying on, then I will have to fight you, he says. Now for us as devotees, this is so funny. So funny whenever some upstart, some insignificant little entity dares to think they can challenge the Lord. In fact, these entities, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, also did the same thing. Hiranyaksha challenged the Lord. Hiranyakashipu challenged the Lord. Their challenges only lasted as long as the Lord was willing to play with them. And then when he had enough of it, when he had enough of the play, he simply finished them off. Hiranyaksha just slapped him at one point. And that was it. Hiranyaksha finished. We know what he did to Hiranyakashipu, a bit more of an elaborate operation, which is very graphically depicted over there, with full gore and gruesome details. But yes, when someone approaches the Lord with great gruesome intentions, then maybe they deserve something of that coming in their own direction. So this is how the Lord reciprocates. But there is a platform of truth that we as sadhakas should be aspiring for. In this entire world where false religion, false devotion is so much portrayed and endorsed and connected with all sorts of material things, such as increasing prestige, increasing fame, each of the 6 opulences of the Lord. Name, fame, what are the others? Beauty, wealth, strength, renunciation, these 6 qualities of the Lord. When everyone wants these qualities in different ways, or at least they want to make a show of those qualities, then people conduct themselves in a certain way which is not complete. There's only one person who has all of these qualities, and that's Krishna. And Krishna can share these qualities with anyone if he so desires, according to their karma, according to their devotional service. Whatever anyone possesses is directly as a result of the Lord sharing those qualities. So truthful bhakti, truthful religion, truthful devotional service requires us also over a period of time to be advancing in these areas. And the development of these, starting with sthayi bhav, anubhav, vibhav, anubhav, satviki bhav, which refers to special ecstatic symptoms, and then the development of a whole range of emotions, this all starts to create you could say almost build a machine and an environment which leads us to rasa. This sthayi bhav sometimes is called the stage of rati, right? A certain stage of rati, where permanence in your situation, in connection with Krishna, is now strong and cannot be altered, then these four bhavas manifest, and the combination of all of it produces rasa, the actual engagement. So you can see it's not a static concept. It's not something that we learn through books and then leave it at that. Advanced devotees actually start to operate in these different stages. Srila Haridas Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in their compositions, they say some interesting things. I'll just read a couple of passages. This is from Harinam Chintamani. Rasa is like a machine. Rati, or permanent emotion, is the axle of this machine. This is the sthai bhav. Once the machine starts moving by the combined energy of the four bhavas, right? These are the four we spoke about. The permanent emotion or sthai bhav is converted into rasa. The devotee who is the ashraya, shelter, or the container of ecstatic love for Krishna becomes the enjoyer of that rasa. And that rasa is exchanged. The very nature of the word exchange means with a person, with Krishna. The devotee becomes that reservoir, the place where that rasa, those mellows, now have their home. And that is now a constant exchange. So this analogy of the machine and rasa being the machine with rati, or this sthai bhav being the axle, is very nice. It is the foundation upon the movement. And so it is a stage we all have to get to. There's no point jumping to or reading about or hearing about advanced stages and being satisfied with that. We should be inspired by hearing of those stages. Even now what I've presented is just such a small, minute level of detail in this whole development. Nectar of Devotion, Harinam Chintamani, so many books actually describe in detail. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has developed it extensively about the glories of the relationship with Krishna. And Prabhupada here refers to Anubhav and then Mahabhav, which is a state where he says is visible amongst the personal pleasure potential energies of the Lord, which means Radharani. If that sentence confused you, Radharani and her expansions, they exhibit Mahabhav. They relish Mahabhav. They exhibit it with a total absorption, which again is ever increasing. In our terminology, we don't really have words that are sufficient. When we say something is total, it seems to suggest that's it. Total means complete. But when the nature of the quantity is infinite and ever increasing, even such a word falls short. So we just do our best to sort of describe it using these terminologies. But the level of devotion that she exhibits cannot be practiced or imitated by anyone else. She can share some devotional traits with us. She can bless us, that we may be able to develop according to whichever stage we are. And in fact, Srimati Radharani's love and actual mercy is what infuses the devotee to advance in their own development of rasa with Krishna. That's why she's so special. And that is why, as Prabhupada would always say, we always say Radha Krishna. And very rarely, even there are many, many groups and many organizations that worship Krishna. Those that worship Radharani together with Krishna is less, right? It's rare. And we don't worship Radharani with the sense of performing a rasa dance, dressing up, wearing saris, old men with beards wearing saris, finding some young girls to dance with. That's how those that want to worship Radharani try it out. No, we treat the subject with great depth and with great reverence and respect. And we realize that even though we may discuss these concepts, we do so with the deep desire that one day we will actually be inspired and enabled to practice them. But we should know they exist. We should know that these stages of ecstatic development take place. Whilst 99% of our efforts in spiritual life are focused on the Vaidhi sadhana platform, in line with our instructing gurus, we should also know about all the other platforms. We should know about Raganuga sadhana bhakti. We should know about Bhava Bhakti, which has components of Vaidhi sadhana when it transforms to Bhava Bhakti, and also Raganuga sadhana when it transforms to Bhava Bhakti. And then we should know the whole word Bhava Bhakti includes an understanding of all of these stages, which are stages like glimpses on the path towards prema, which is the full developed, full flourished, fully opened flower of love for Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Ki. So Prabhupada says very clearly that for us to advance along these stages, we do so through, he says very easily and conveniently, through the holy name. Such meditation is still more conveniently performed by chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord. This is especially recommended in this age of Kali. So the holy name is not like a foreign object in this whole scheme of rasa. It's not like something, again as I said, something that we just do to keep us occupied. The holy name is described, and is described as the bud. It's described as the bud of the flower of rasa. From the bud, the flower comes, right? If you ever watch plants growing, there's a bud produced first, and then the flower develops. That bud, the holy name, brings about this situation of sthayi bhav. It brings about these four subsequent vibhav, anubhav, right? It brings about all of those until ultimately we're situated in pure rasa with Krishna. So the holy name directly is eternally connected with the development of transcendental rasa. And we know the holy name also is one of the 9 processes of devotional service, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. Prahlad Maharaj says, Iti pumsarpita Vishnu bhaktischennava lakshana kriyata bhagavatya dhatan manye dhitam uttamam. That the topmost person, yanmanye dhitam uttamam, the topmost practitioner, the topmost practice for a person to do is to engage in these 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Now according to Srila Prabhupada's purport, it explains, and even in the verse itself, the verse itself mentions that due to mature devotional service, Prahlad Maharaj will be situated in transcendental ecstasy and will enter the spiritual sky. So that's called going back to Godhead, entering the spiritual sky, as a result of mature devotional service and concentrated meditation on the Supreme Lord. Now the irony is that Prahlad Maharaj, by his actual meditation and qualities and qualification, is naturally going to the spiritual world when his time here in this world is finished. However, the irony is that that's not his desire. That's not his desire. Because he says, Naivod vijay paraduratyaya vaitaranyastadvirya gayana mahamritamagna chittaha shocheta to vimukacheta sa indriyarthamaya sukhaya bharam udvahato vimudhan. And he says, Prayena deva munaya svavimukti kama maunam charanti vijanena pararthanishta naitan vihaya kripanan vimamuksha eko nanyam todasya sharanam brahmatonu pashye. He says there are so many people, Prayena deva munaya, so many munis, so many great practitioners, svavimukti kama, who have a desire for their own mukti, svavimukti kama, who are simply desiring to attain their own salvation. Maunam charanti vijanena pararthanishta, they take vows of mona, that I won't speak, mona vrat. They take vows to remain silent, go to the Himalayas, and conduct operations with disregard for everyone else, looking for their own perfection. But Prahlad Maharaj says, but I know I'm not like this. I know that the only way someone can attain happiness in this world is if they take shelter of your lotus feet. Therefore, rather than trying to exit this world as quickly as possible, I would like to remain here and carry out the job of bringing everyone to the shelter of your lotus feet. That's Prahlad Maharaj's meditation. That is the meditation of our parampara. That is the meditation of all the persons in this parampara. And by their mercy, we have access to this Sankirtan mission, which is such a you could say, a fully opened flower of opportunities. The Sankirtan mission is not just one activity. There's a whole range of activities, just as a flower has multiple petals. A whole range of activities, practices, study material, meditation. Each of the 9 processes of devotional services becomes accessible to someone who engages in this mission. And success is guaranteed. Why? Because in this age of Kali, despite all our disqualifications and despite the oppressive nature of the age of Kali, Lord Chaitanya has infused this mission with success because it's his mission. It's his mission. It's the mission of Lord Nityananda. It's their mission. And when they are directly here carrying out the mission, how can it be a failure? If we want to experience these stages of Sai Bhav, Anubhav, and appreciate and worship those on the platform of Mahabhav, the best way for us, you could say the only way really, is to participate in the Lord's Sankirtan mission. We play our part, do our bit, and pray to the Lord, just as Prahlad Maharaj constantly prays to the Lord, prays for the welfare of the entire world. That is the level of kindness and focus that actually makes us a fit member of the Sankirtan mission. So I'll stop there. I'll see if there's any questions, any comments. Yes, Damodar Prabhu and then Prabhuji. Mike? I was missing? Okay, just ask then.
My question is about Sai Bhav and the 5 rasanas. Would it be like neutrality or would it be part of those rasanas?
Yeah. Neutrality isn't a prominent rasa by the close devotees of the Lord, but it may still play a part. And the stage of neutrality is almost like the base level of some kind of connection with Krishna. In neutrality, there's kind of acknowledgement of Krishna, but there isn't engagement. And as each of the rasas develop, we know that the next rasa includes all the elements of the previous rasa. So in Dasya Ras, you have to have been on the Sambandha platform. Maybe this is an analogous way to see it. That neutrality for us could be basic information or basic understanding of our relationship as Sambandha. And then the other rasas enter more into the Abhidheya platform. And of course that Abhidheya itself becomes the Prayojan. Because when one is situated in their particular Sthai Bhav, a particular situation of permanence, they will have a particular service, etc., or a particular connection with Krishna, a particular occupation in one of these rasas, which is not yet fully fructified, but it's the base level. So we can't really ever exclude it. Anything that's connected to Krishna, even on the platform of neutrality, is kind of included as a subset in the higher rasas. But yes, the platform of neutrality is typically not engaged in or indulged in the Lord's own personal abode. Even it is said that typically the items we would consider to be neutral, like for example, the grass or the stone, in the spiritual world that is Chintamani, it is cognizant. Perhaps when the Lord comes here for his Bhaumya Leela, some of that is on the platform of neutrality. But maybe not also, because the Lord also brings his abode here. So things are never entirely, you could say, definable, explicitly definable. There are so many options and so many ways to understand the whole picture. Even these terms we mentioned today, Sthai Bhav, Anubhav, you'll see if you actually do a detailed study through all the different literatures we have available to us, they are also differently explained. They don't have rigid meanings either. Some analysis use very specific rigid meanings. There are even 7 divisions of Bhav plus another 2 in another analysis. This analysis, what it does is it opens up for us in our minds a world which is vast. And it gives us certain little attractive pieces of candy that we can remember and use as a basis for further exploration. So yes, neutrality, all the rasas are there, and then of course there's the 7 counter rasas as well. Some of those manifest in this stage of anubhav. And the whole thing is grounded through rasa. Because some of these, if you just exhibit certain symptoms or certain activities, that itself can be a distraction. So it's grounded through a particular service to Krishna. So it's a big science, actually. Prabhuji?
You were mentioning that when we come here, whatever activity we perform, the purpose is to please Krishna. The question is, how do we figure out whether Krishna is actually pleased with us?
Yeah. It will only really happen when the two-way relationship is established. As I mentioned, the relationship, one way isn't really a relationship. Two ways, when you actually get a sense of, did this activity I did for the Lord, did this activity which I performed for the Lord please Him? That's when there'll be a direct understanding of that fact. We will, through practice, just over time, if we stick to the program of devotional service and carry out prescribed services, prescribed devotional service, we will start to get a hint directly from Krishna as our relationship with Krishna grows. We will know whether Krishna is pleased with this or not. And we have to sometimes patiently wait for that. That's why the Utsahan Nishchaya Dhairyat is a constant companion before we have reached this platform of raganuga or rasa-based motivation. Until then, until that point when we are, when our motivation is based upon rules, regulations, duty, sadhana, and specifically the type of sadhana which is Vaidhi sadhana, there may be a little gap between a direct reciprocation with Krishna. And therefore, to assist us in that gap, we have the advanced souls. Now the advanced souls remain advisors and guides whatever stage we're at, because that's the whole process of Krishna consciousness. It's never performed alone. It's always done with the assistance of Srimati Radharani, with Lord Chaitanya, with the Guru Parampara, with the Goswamis. They're all there. But they may be explicitly required to give us more detailed information before we get to the advanced stages. So therefore, as we always say, the way to know whether Krishna is pleased is if the devotees are pleased. And of the devotees, the one you should be most concerned about is your spiritual master. And that is to be taken as the sort of ultimate definition as to whether Krishna was pleased by your service. But in pursuit of that, your spiritual master is also not acting alone. And within ISKCON, the spiritual master knows that I'm placing this disciple in the care of Prabhupada's mission, and he will have multiple instructors, multiple guides. And we welcome that. We welcome that because it gives us a full-flavored, wholesome approach to Krishna, wholesome engagement in Krishna service. So that is the way. Sometimes Krishna might do mystical things also. He might directly drop a flower when you say something to him. These things happen, right? He may do such things. Someone may come right up to us if we're asking Krishna for an answer to a prayer. They may tell us something which we need to know. So all of that is undefinable. And I think every devotee experiences it. Miracles, things, strange things that just happen, which clearly propel you forwards, which there's no way they could have happened through a normal material analysis. Krishna is clearly involved somehow. Turn Prabhu.
I was always wondering, those symptoms are described in the scriptures, where studies. This is like a size of the living entity, into kind of like a factory product. They always display the same symptoms. Can they display some other symptoms that are not mentioned in scriptures? Or different traditions that display something else? why always that, like, unarranged? You must be falling to like a factory product.
Like, any particular symptoms constantly mentioned?
Something you should describe, I don't know, sweating blood or vomiting or something like that.
Oh, no. Yeah. No, you're referring to the 7 secondary rasas.
Even those.
5 primary, 7 secondary. And, I mean, you see, okay, so there's our situation in the spiritual world, which is in full spiritual body, with a full engagement with Krishna, which is not limited by the constraints of this particular world. Right? And that is a realm which is ever expanding and has no limit. And our abilities to express, our abilities to even manifest an ability are not restricted by our bodies there in the spiritual world, because you simply receive the tools you need to do the job that Krishna wants you to do. In this particular world, these developments of ecstasies, they're not something that only magically pop up for you in the spiritual world. These symptoms are experienced while you're here, in this world. And the vehicle for which these things are expressed is your physical body at this point. So therefore there is a limit to what this body can do. And so that's why the Acharyas have described this whole science of development of bhav in relation to how it is expressed through a practitioner in this world moving upwards in their progress. Ultimately, all of it falls into the platform, all of it, you could say, is consumed through the engagement of rasa. And then on an internal level, all sorts of things can happen. But externally, there may be only a certain thing your mouth can do, or, the hairs on your body can stand up, but they can't do much else. Right? Maybe in the spiritual world, they could do a few other things.
I guess because our body is limited.
Yeah.
That's the body. For Lord Chaitanya, these symptoms that don't even have a name.
Yeah.
So the body is
Retracting limbs, extending limbs. We can't do those things, but Lord Chaitanya can. So this is the specific symptoms we'll demonstrate here will be somewhat connected to our physical body.
One more question, first. Describing about preaching activities that some people are interested in their own salvation, their own study.
Yeah.
But we see, like, for example, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that a certain person would not talk to anyone who isolate his own inner ecstasy, even associate with Lord Chaitanya. He wouldn't preach.
Yeah.
Lord Kishore, that
Yes.
Babaji also-
Even Jagannath Das Babaji, it's his disappearance day today.
Yeah, he was just in his own. So that movement, for example, the paramparas, like Prano, where was stuck with him, movement would not expand unless, what is done before that. But their own ecstasy become not interested, it seems to me.
Well, not interested, but just their specific focus is that. Now, for us, we're emphasizing especially the preaching mission because we're not capable of performing bhajan in that way, especially with the onslaught of Kali Yuga. It's practically impossible for someone to perform bhajan at the level of Jagannath Das Babaji, Gaur Kishore Das. So what we do is by actually engaging in the Sankirtan, in the preaching mission, under Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya's, under their flag, under their mission, they supply us everything we need for our bhajan to progress as a gift, which we cannot do ourselves. And then we will also start to relish that bhajan. So for us, it's almost like we're getting some special boost. And so for that reason, for us, the Sankirtan mission, the preaching mission is always to be emphasized, overemphasized, possibly even exclusively emphasized. Because the alternative of practicing bhajan, nirjan bhajan, or whatever type of bhajan, is extremely, extremely difficult. And Prabhupada says in other places where he writes about Haridas Thakur chanting, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji chanting in a solitary place, Jagannath Das Babaji also chanting in a solitary place, he says this is not to be imitated by us. We simply cannot do so. And if we do so, we are liable to fall down at a certain point due to immaturity, and that will cause more a loss in our spiritual life than in actually engaging in the mission set down by the Acharyas. So that's really the sort of spirit of it. But bhajan, contemplation, developing concentrated Krishna consciousness is of course our goal.
We are supposed to end up in that.
Yeah. End up, it's supposed to happen along the way as well. Rati, the stage of Sai Bhav, Rati, that is like the base. It includes that meditation, that contemplation on Krishna. And then it expands into other developments. And all the while, your service is going on, whether it's preaching or whatever it is. Prabhuji?
Yeah, it's not like they're doing their budget and they're not interested.
Yeah.
The mercy is flowing through them.
Yeah.
And without that mercy, then they're not even free.
Mm-hmm.
So Lord he was very well versed, even though he was a lecturer.
Mm.
People would come to him and ask questions. He would know everything about scripture.
Yeah.
So he was preaching.
He was. Jagannath Das Babaji was instructing Bhaktivedanta Thakur. I didn't get time to really go into all that. But obviously Bhaktivedanta Thakur, our Acharya, had his own guru, Bipin Bihari. But he considered that was his Diksha guru from a sort of a family line connection kind of thing. But he actually accepted the instruction of Srila Jagannath Das Babaji in a much more condensed and strong manner. Jagannath Das Babaji was clearly the most advanced person. He lived to over 140 years old. And he discovered Mayapur Dham, or confirmed to Bhaktivedanta Thakur that this was the location of Mayapur Dham. So anyway, you can look up something about Jagannath Das Babaji, but he instructed Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and there were there's descriptions of Jagannath Das Babaji's preaching also, or discussions that he had with different people. But yes, towards the latter parts, at one point it's described that he became so old, and at that age, over 100, 140, he was bent over, almost into a semicircle. That's a description given. That's how the situation his body got to. Yet he jumped out of the basket, right, as soon as required. So very, very special, advanced symptoms can come to these persons. Yeah. And they're playing their part. Our aim is always to play our part. Gaurkishore Das Babaji played his part by having one disciple. That was enough. He didn't need hundreds. He needed one, because that one disciple will do all the job that's needed for him to do, and for Lord Chaitanya's mission to succeed. And others, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj had lots of disciples. Prabhupada, loads of disciples. Some of our initiating spiritual masters, 50,000 plus. And some may have one. It's a mystical world. It's a mystical world where nothing needs to be the same. But we'll stop there and engage in all our varieties of different service. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you. Thank you. Tricky subject, yeah. All right.
What's the mic?